March Madness. March Madness, Madness. March Madness 2. You can see it when you see me, but you
Suck it now. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching, and if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, you will be. Welcome to the Get Busy Living Project 55. My name is Swede, and I'm going to help you get busy living 55 months on at least one epic adventure every month. And tonight, it's about enjoying the journey. And since nothing is worth having if it ain't worth sharing, please allow me to introduce the co-pilot of this journey, entrepreneur out of Los Angeles, author and star of unblawyourself.com, one of my all-time favorite humans, the dazzling D-Rex.
Thank you once again. I don't like that one because there's laughing in it. Oh my goodness. How are you? I know I just saw you, but how are you right now?
I feel like it's been forever since I saw you. How about that for how I am? Every time we get busy living, it's right back to the grind, right? Right back to the grind. And it hasn't been easy for me to get back to it. I can't lie, man. I'm quite the emotional sap these days. And these adventures that we go on, when I see how much everyone else is pouring into these things on my behalf, it's, man, I get all warm and fuzzy inside. And after they're over, and it's back to my grind, and I'm kind of by myself, and it's so quiet at the Fortress of Sweetitude when there's not all kinds of ruckus
I
going.
bet. I bet.
It's super quiet here.
Joe Beth is here. I don't know Zach R, but there's some people here already that.
Suck it now. Zach Rossica is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait to get Zach on the show. Holy smokes. And by the way, if there's anybody that I can think of that I regret you not meeting when you came to Destin for Thanksgiving, Zach Rossica is at the top of the list. I'm not saying he's number one, but he's tied for number one. I'm telling you, he's one of my top dogs of all time, one of the greatest guitar players you ever see, and one of the friendliest, nicest, funniest, most entertaining dudes on the planet, man. Zach Rossica. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Zach.
Is in the house.
Yeah, we love when you guys pop up in the comments so we can see who's actually here. Hi, Lori. Speaking of like when people pitch in to do things, I had an amazing birthday surprise on the last podcast when you organized everybody to come in and surprise me, and I was truly surprised. I was very confused.
Yes, I'd like to give the proper thank you and welcome to the show, Mr. Jerry Turner himself. JFT, thank you very much for coming on the Get Busy Living podcast with us. Thanks for all the effort you put in to pulling off that little surprise for D-Rex last week. Without JFT.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was fun. You deserve it. You're a sweetheart.
And not only that, Jerry was a big factor in organizing the entire trip where we went to Flagstaff. And I think that we need to update everybody because we've been talking for eons about you going skiing. So can we talk about what happened when we went to Flagstaff?
Yeah, so, I hope that as time goes on, these epic adventures become more and more epic because of the people that are with us. And even though I didn't get a chance to get in the ski up there last week, getting to rub elbows with the high country adaptive sports folks is always like worth it. I don't care if I got to ski downhill or not. So, even though it was very much a heartbreaker to not be able to get up there and make it a ski trip, and I wasn't the only one that didn't get to go skiing, so. But,
we didn't even explain what happened. Like we got all the way up there, we got suited up, and the ski apparatus itself was not the right size. So you were not able to ski this past weekend. And yeah, we were disappointed, but you would not, well, maybe you would not be surprised at how fast we rallied back, did we stay sad about it? We just hopped in the car and kept going.
Yeah, JFT just made the perfect comment. It was kind of hard when you have that many people that are there, that are going to be with you one way or the other, that are rooting for you, that came so far to be with you. The vibe, having that group like that, there's nothing like that, and we've been talking on this podcast now for months about the vibe and the community and the togetherness and and how powerful lonely people can become if you just give them somebody next to them, and that's what I hope that this podcast grows into, is a place for people to come, that are seeking out togetherness, because, right now this is just a podcast that's just our way of being in touch with the audience long distance. But once a month, we're out there getting busy living with, and we're hoping to get you guys on these vacations with us, so that vibe, that perseverance that we're able to muster up and rally, like you say, is because of that. We're feeding off each other being there.
I mean, we are a resilient group, and I know, not everybody can't as us. And I think that's why today is so interesting, and it's about like enjoying the journey rather than waiting for that destination. There's so much to talk about here. But I mean, we enjoyed the heck out of that journey. We didn't actually reach a destination there. We did not do the downhill skiing. So I also chose not to do the downhill skiing, because I'm gonna wait until they said that maybe by next year they will have a different sized seat, and I'm excited about that. So I'm saving my downhill ski trip for then, and I decided to do something else to get busy living. I actually did a couple of things that I'd love to talk about that I did in Flagstaff. Hey, did you receive that video? Do you think you could download it?
Yep, it's not
okay. So I'll tell a little story. No, it's called CC Ski, and if it's not there, it's not there. I could also play it from here because I seem to have a better connection right now. But I decided to go cross country skiing because that's something that I love to do, and I didn't want to miss the chance to do that in one of my favorite cities, which is Flagstaff, Arizona, which is up in the mountains. I know that a lot of people who have never been to Arizona imagine it to be a desert wasteland. They imagine the cactuses and that it's hot. And, it is a lot of that, right? In Arizona.
For sure.
But Flagstaff is different. It's way up in the mountains. It has a different climate. It's a pine forest, Are you looking for the video? It's okay if you can't find it.
Yeah, no,
I was wondering where you're squinting.
Yeah, I think I got it. So just bear with me for a second.
You're squinting so hard. Okay, so that's one of the things that I did in order to just keep moving. I feel like we talked about this before, where we're kind of like a steamroller of fun, right? We just keep steamrolling over everything. It's like fun, gotta go get the fun, and we just steamroller over every obstacle. And so I decided to do this cross-country skiing. This is something I've done my whole life, so I already knew how to do it. And there was a cross-country ski park there, so I wasn't going to miss my chance. Flagstaff is gorgeous, and I wanted to go out and see what I could get done, what kind of busy I could get living. Is that a term?
I love it. Every way you can, come up with it. All right, so let's show everybody how good you are at getting busy living.
Okay. Here in Flagstaff, Arizona, I'm going to do some cross-country skiing here at Arizona Nordic Village, and it seems really amazing. I'm going to be showing you around a little bit here and how I'm getting busy living today. Why? Why do people cross-country ski? Because this. Look at this place, guys. Look at this place. Look at this mountain behind me. What's your name?
Big Mike.
Big Mike, my new friend.
That's right, from Phoenix.
Oh my gosh, we came up from Phoenix too. Yeah, he's out here cross-country skiing by himself too.
Yep.
But he has better gear than me. What is it that you like about cross-country skiing?
The outside, the air, and the exercise.
Absolutely. This is magical out here, huh?
Yep.
Cool. Well, it's nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Look, there's these little yurt houses you can stay in up here. Nice to meet people out on the trail. Hey, new friend.
Hi, how's it going there? Nice to meet you, Direx.
Who are you?
I'm Jimmy.
Jimmy?
Yes.
And who are you?
I'm Boswell. We're coming from GCU. Just be here, have fun.
Today was our first time to do ski here, and we fell many times. So my YouTube channel is called Jimmy V Sandrum. You guys can check it out.
Great. You guys like your cross country skiing?
It was great. It was
great.
fun. I mean, it was better than what I anticipated. So, but
What did you like about it?
I think it's just like the experience of exploring and the part of falling down. I think that's part of the experience. So, yeah.
So you did like the falling?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, because that makes it really fun.
Did you like the uphill or the downhill?
I think I like the downhill.
The downhill, we just and just kind of flying. I was like, let's go! So
Awesome.
I hope you have a great day.
Well, that was interesting. Made a lot of friends. Really tried hard to get busy living today, and I think I achieved it.
All right.
Now I regret not going with you.
I know, right?
It was fun. It was fun. Here, let's change this layout. Yeah, it was cool to meet people out on the trails. There weren't that many. It's not like I was like chatting it up with tons of people, but I did talk to some. I almost ran over some older ladies, and and I ended up chatting with that group too. And it was good because it also offers you a lot of alone time. And when you have such a large and crazy group, it was kind of good to get a little alone time.
Who else chimed in and said, nice job, D-Rex. Hell yeah. Shout
Thanks.
out in the house, D-Rex. Say what's up, my man, Smiles.
Wow. Hey, guys.
TJ says, what's up, dog?
Hey, TJ.
Yeah, I got Boogie's in the house. What up, Boogie? What's like? Those of y'all that don't know, look, the reason we're talking about getting busy living is because you guys helped me get here, right? I got two people right next to me right here that helped me get where I'm at. And I got some people right on my screen right here. Jay Bailey, Boogie, thank you. Swells, thank you. You guys all have chipped in to help me get here. And also I'm hoping to do with this podcast is use this podcast as a way to be in touch with our audience so that we can keep everyone up to date on what we're doing with this project, and we got 6 down, 49 to go. So before I got injured, 54 months in a row, at least one epic adventure every month. And JFT was on several of them. I haven't seen D-Rex on one of them, as a matter of fact. And Boogie came all the way out Australia to get busy living with me. And JFT, we were just talking about what did you say you wanted to do when you went to Australia for one reason?
Got to dive the Great Barrier Reef, baby.
Can I get a hell yeah, Boog? He was like, Boog came out to do the Great Barrier Reef with me. But so 54 months in a row, then I got injured and my streak snapped. And all you guys chipped in to save my life. And I vowed on my deathbed that if you help me get out of that jam, that I was going to throw y'all a huge, huge party. So now what I'm trying to do is use this podcast as my way of showing you guys what I'm trying to do to be able to throw that party. I need to afford the party. And I want to be able to do unto others as I would have others do unto me. And so I formed a nonprofit in the namesake of the Help Swede Walk Again organization, what you guys did as far as fundraising for me. And by forming this nonprofit, by helping others, I'm hoping in the long run that will help me and then help you guys get busy living so that we can throw that party. So viewership, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and click to be notified so that if I don't shoot you guys a text, you get a reminder on your phone that the Get Busy Living podcast is about to begin. You guys can tune in. Because believe me, I hope that in these early stages when we're growing, loyal following, that I can still be in touch with you guys. But I would like it if down the road I was too busy to be able to do that. You know what I mean? To shoot you guys messages like that. And I want you to just be able to know that just like Thursday Night Football, there's the Get Busy Living podcast. So you got to turn that football down, turn that podcast up for an hour in the middle of it. You know what I mean? In your head that's happening. You know what I mean? So seriously, though, this the mindset that it takes to be able to get busy living. Like Boogie, come on and tell his stories. JFT, you've already told yours. Swells, you've told some of yours. So, I mean, shit, Zach Rossica got mad stories of getting busy living. You know what I mean? And Chet has already come on and told his story. And look, I want to say what up to my man, Oblique the Architect. You guys heard the Strange Tang music that comes on every day at the beginning of our podcast. So we got Bleak is in the house. Bleak is the man behind the music. That's the man. He's the one that's saying March Madness. That's my man, Bleak. Give it a shout out. Bleak, thanks for tuning in, brother. We were just talking about why we're here and what we're doing with this. So we want to help everyone get busy living by giving them first the mindset that it takes to stay on that. And this week we're talking about how we've already talked about having the purpose, so that when you get knocked down, that you can get back on. And Bleak could come in and probably talk for hours about getting knocked down. And it's easier when you have a purpose, but you can't be so singularly focused on the purpose that you don't enjoy the process, And that's why I love this video that you brought up, D-Rex, about the skiing. You mentioned earlier that when people think about skiing, they think about downhill. And you were like, you know what? I really enjoy the uphill part. I enjoy the work, of getting up the hill. And I was telling JFT about it a second ago, and I was like, some people enjoy rowing the boat and other people enjoy riding on the boat. It's not just about where's the boat going. It's about getting there, and think about it. If we had been preoccupied with me, I know that I have people coming from all across the country once again this month, traveling to come get busy living with me. And if they had all been fixated on me getting up on the mountain, man, imagine all the flat-winded sails that would have happened after we realized that I wasn't going to fit in the ski. Instead of that, look, we had a house full of people up in Flagstaff getting busy living.
It's really funny how little time we focused on that disappointment. If you think about it, like it was maybe like 2 minutes. Then we were like, what are we doing? So it's great to be with a group of people who can just steamroll through like that. Resiliency is an underrated attribute. I read something really interesting about happiness. And I think I just need to switch my window here because I need to remind myself of the word. Okay, so there's something called a happiness set point. And I'd never heard of this before, but it's kind of like your baseline happiness, like where your happiness generally resides. And when bad things happen, you go below that set point. When good things happen, you go above that, but it always goes back there. And that's why, and there have been scientific studies on this recently, and I find it fascinating that achievements, like when you achieve a goal, that satisfaction that you get from that is temporary. It's like you think that you're going to get to that goal and then my life is going to be great, but it's not. Like you get up there and then you get the happiness and then you go back to your set point. It's always temporary. And that's why that you have to enjoy the journey, because that destination is going to be a temporary high for you. It sounds like we have so many goals, right? And when we achieve them, it's going to be awesome. But then there's going to be new goals and new things to do. It's always temporary. So you have to be able to enjoy all this stuff we're doing along the way. And
what's going on along the way,
am.
Next month is month number 7. It's a lucky number. It's also my birthday. And since I've been kind of keeping this option open. I've had a couple different ideas, but I've been keeping it open because I'm open to the feedback of the audience and finding out where would be the best place to go. Since, honestly, once the idea of going up to Salt Lake for that race came up, I was sold on that. But since that obviously crumbled last weekend, now I'm back to having kind of an open slate. But the month after that, the 420 canoe trip. So I really could use some help promoting this, Swells. I could use some help promoting this, Boog. And by the way, Boog was like, he said, I'm about to go have dinner with Furby. That's the guy I was telling you about that just came back from Panama, who was helping me do some research with fundraising and doing research with the stem cell stuff. So that I know him through Boogie. But
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When is spring break at Lake Havasu? Because I really want to do that.
Hey Siri, when is spring break at Lake Havasu?
If that's in March, that could be the March
Here's
one.
what I found from springbreak.com. The peak time for spring break 2019 at Lake Havasu will be March 3rd to March 11th, when Arizona State University has its spring break.
Did she just give us 2019 shit? Siri, you're so 2019.
Can't be trusted.
So,
well, you guys are going to have to definitely look into that. The next destination is always like it's chosen but then, you know, we always take input as we go along, and it may shift and change as we get there. So input is always welcome. And, you know, speaking of input, if you have any kind of input, or you just want to say hello, we have an email for that. I mean, first of all, you could come to the comments section during this podcast and we will definitely say hello to you. But we have an email, and it's hello@getbusyliving.com. And for some reason, I've lost it here, but I'm going to put it up in just a second. And honestly, you can email us about anything. We are here for you as a group. You are part of this tribe. And anything you want to say to us, that's what it's there for. We do love you joining us on the podcast, though. That's the most fun. So always join us here. Pipe up in the comments if you're here.
You know, I got to tell you that one of the things, I'm just sitting here looking in the comments in Elevated Underground, that's Bleak. He said, I think people don't pay attention to nature enough. Things are still and effortless more than they are turbulent. Our attention is just on the wrong things. Now, I got to tell you, Bleak he is not your average. This dude is an academic. He's a super intelligent. He's a deep thinker. He's a philosopher. He's a lyricist. He's a performer. And I can't wait to have him on the show. Bleak, I just sent you an invite. You don't have to come in and say, I'm not putting you on the spot to be profound, even though you always are. But I just sent you a link on the text. If you want to join us, all you got to do is click on that link and we can bring you in and you can be on right here with me and Jerry. And you're welcome to share your story that you want to talk about, a man that knows about resilience, a man that knows about, you know, smelling the roses today because tomorrow's not promised. Their story is spectacular. Now, like I said, whether or not he's going to join us or not, no pressure. But I'm so, like, I think that when you were talking about enjoying the climb and the work, you know, and I always try to think about how can I relay that to the audience as far as getting busy living. You know, I always try to spin it into, you know, a way of viewing this process of living and dying as a fun process, you know, and you really got to make what you're doing for a living shouldn't define you as far as like what makes your money shouldn't be define you. It's what you do with the money you make that should define you. You know, and, you know, with this process of getting busy living, it's not about just the living at the end. It's about the getting part. I always say that over and over. It's about getting busy. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my man to the show, the author of I Work for This, our theme song, my man, Oblique the Architect. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, what's up? What's up?
Hello, I've never met you before. Thanks for joining us. This is a song I never get tired of.
Man, thank you so much, man. I've been trying, man. You know, life is life, you know. I've been trying to get here and I'm just glad to be here now, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, it's about time we get you up here, Bleak. You know, so much of what I've been doing all along the way, I've drawn on you, your wisdom and knowledge about, you know, about media production, and to have you be able to make a spot on the show is an honor, man. You know, so I was telling these guys a little bit ago about your story, you know, but so I got two questions for you. Number one, do you remember where you were when you heard that I got injured? And number two, do you want to share with us what brought you to Florida, you know, the transition from Kentucky moving to the beach?
So I don't remember exactly where I was, but I remember how I felt. Because, you know, our adventures were spectacular. You know, I'll never forget Louisville, Kentucky. I'll never forget, you know, just the things that we've done together. But I remember how I felt, and I remember hearing the story of how it happened, and I was like, yeah, that's him. I was like, yeah, that's exactly him. But how I got here, we moved to Florida for peace, man. Long story short, we survived the home invasion. My brother got shot. Our collective best friend, you know, he was executed in front of us. And where we were when that happened, we were at the highest point that we had ever been in our lives. And we really didn't know where we were going to go from there. So after the event happened, we spent, 8 months, my brother learning how to walk again. And we navigated through that, and my brother's resilience was so crazy. Like there was no other option but a comeback. You know what I'm saying? Like he was not in no way, form or fashion gonna give up. And I knew that he was back when we played basketball together again.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So once he was back, our collective dream as the trio that we were was to move to Florida. And so we moved to Florida. But when we moved to Fort Walton Beach, it was more healing. We just wanted to go someplace where there was water, where we could just be still. And we got here and we were homeless. You know what I mean? We had no plan. We just knew this is where we wanted to be. And that's the power of faith. That's the power of intention. We knew this is where we were supposed to be. And no matter what, we were going to figure it out. And we got down here, and literally within the first 2-3 months, we met some of the most incredible people ever. Like people helped us that didn't know us from anybody. They didn't know us from anybody, but they felt us. They saw us and they helped us. I met you through my brother, Swede.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just been an incredible adventure, an incredible journey. But I really wanted to speak on the comment that I made about how people, y'all talk about resilience, but I think it's about the attention. We talk about intention, but I think it's more attention. If you think about a heartbeat, boom, 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 boom. And I think in life, we pay attention to boom and boom, but we don't realize that most of life is in between that. Most of life is in the middle. And we only seem to pay attention when we're super happy and everything's going our way, or when things are super bad and everything's wrong. But we miss that part in the middle where everything is still and everything is okay. And to me, that's the attention that we should be paying attention to. Yes, when everything's good, be grateful. When everything's bad, understand that this too shall change. But most of your life, everything's good. And that's the part we should be embracing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. I think resilience comes from understanding that this too shall pass. Most of life is okay. And I don't know what's happened to us where we just don't understand that we're here for like a speck of time. We're here for a speck of time, and we don't enjoy most of it because we're worrying about this or this. We don't pay attention to any of this.
And, it's all of those ups and downs that really, and, to use musical terms, the dynamics of music are the loud and the soft, right? And everything in between. But the dynamics of life are the good and the bad and everything in between. And music and life, neither one are interesting or good at one dynamic. You can play a song really loud the whole time. It sucks. You can play a song really quiet the whole time. It sucks. It's that up and down, and how powerful do you feel your story would be if someone you were living in Kentucky, was it?
Yeah, I was in Kentucky. Yeah.
Like someone just came up to you and handed you $1 million and you moved to Florida and there you were. Like how much more powerful and interesting is your story now, even though a lot of it was very painful. And I can't even believe it, actually, what you've been through. But how much more powerful and interesting is your life now, with all of those dynamics?
I think it's powerful, but I think the powerful part is the way that my story is used as a tool for the people that I come in contact with. So I run a multimedia recording studio in Fort Walton Beach, and most of the studio sessions turn into therapy sessions.
I've been a patient.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we do the work, but a lot of it is about tapping into what's really behind the song. What's behind the lyric? Are you just saying something? What's behind what you're saying? What does that mean? How does that feel? And that's when we have the real conversation, and that's when the music changes. I think that, like I said, I think that a lot of time we just miss out on the important thing because we're not paying attention. We're not paying attention.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Go ahead, bro.
I was going to say that we are severely overstimulated today, and I think that the less that we engage in our phones, you know, obviously the more we'll engage with our surroundings. But man, it's lonely out there these days. You know, everybody's in their phone. At one point the other day, I was at the Super Bowl party. We had a house full of people up in the mountains. And I look over, and the three people closest to me were all staring at their phones. Their phones were in their face, and like it's almost. I mean, I don't know. Are we addicted as a culture, as a society today, or are we just so entranced? I don't know what it is, but I know
I think we live in an era where attention spans are so short. Everybody's looking for the next dopamine trigger. Everybody's looking for the next thing that's going to make me feel. Nobody has considered the fact that every moment is spectacular. Like, everybody's looking for spectacular, but have you ever just sat down and looked? So me and my brother used to do this thing. It sounds crazy to say it on here, but I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all.
Always.
We used to do this thing. We used to go to Walmart at like 2 a.m. This is back pre-COVID when Walmart was 24/7. So we used to go to Walmart at like 2 a.m. and we would sit down and just look at people. Everything is spectacular if you pay attention. Everything. Getting dressed is an experience if you're paying attention.
It really is. It really is. You know, appreciating it is important. You know, being grateful, because if you are too focused on the stimuli and you're too caught up with, you know, the Kardashians and the Joneses and all the glamour and glitz and the 1/1,000,000th of a person, like there's only so many of those. And if you're so infatuated with that you can't, it's hard to appreciate what you have in your lap, you know? And you know, Jerry, I want to bring attention. Something that you told me a long time ago when we were in Bali, you know, and you had suffered some, you had come across some health issues, you know, and so you were making wiser decisions on a daily basis then. And at one point, you know, I was like, bro, I was like, for as wise as you're being, you sure are having just as much fun as the rest of us. You know, we were out there on that having a good old time, you know, and you were just like, man, you're like, you know, you're like, everything smells delicious if you just stop and pay attention to it, you know? And, you know, so do you remember how you felt and what you were thinking back then when you made those comments?
Oh, I mean, you know, once I retired and got to start traveling like that so frequently, it was kind of exciting and new back then. But every new experience, and I'm all about the new experiences. That's why I've been to 42 countries. I just want to travel and see new stuff and see not just today's stuff. I want to see the stuff that's 3,000 years old in Portugal and in Italy. And life is just amazing, dude. And all you got to do is slow down and look. That's it. Just slow down and enjoy that museum. Enjoy that. Amazing. Just slow down and enjoy that museum.
Got some feedback going on somewhere in there. Not sure.
Yeah, and I'm a little older now, so I like to slow down.
Not sure.
Let me try.
I'm trying to mute, but it's
Okay, so yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but oh yeah, he might need some headphones. Might need to put on some headphones.
TV might have come on or something. It sounded like some background noise.
But you know, I'd like to add something to this conversation because something happened to me in Flagstaff. Well, it didn't happen to me because I made certain choices, right? So it's kind of like I didn't make it happen. It didn't happen to me. It just happened. So I went out with your, would you call Jo Beth your stepsister?
She's my sister.
She's your sister. Okay. So I went out with your sister, Joe Beth. I went to downtown Flagstaff. And, you know, we went into some sort of sound healing store where there were these chimes and drums and all sorts of things. He says he has a bad connection, so maybe he'll be back. So we went into the sound healing store, and there was a guy there who owned the store, and he started showing us how to use the bowls and the chimes. And I just thought, I'm going to really talk to this guy, you know, like what else is there to do but to meet people? Like, I'm going to talk to him and find out his story. And he ended up telling us all about how he got into spirituality in the 60s and wanted to avoid the Vietnam War. And it was like he was looking for all this spiritual guidance. And then eventually it came down to a spiritual advisor saying, all you need to do is go sit by the river and just wait for the answers. And he said he sat there for forever. And it came to him very clearly that all of the answers he was seeking were actually inside himself.
Absolutely.
And that's when he decided that he wanted to speak a language that everybody could easily speak without translating, and that was music. So so he started getting into the sound healing. And then I told him that your sister was on her first trip ever anywhere. She'd never been on an airplane before. Yeah. And he said, oh, well, let me show you something that you won't see in Pennsylvania, which I'm not sure you won't see this in Pennsylvania, but it was pretty amazing. He said, sit in these chairs. And they're right there. We sat in the chairs, no questions asked. We just sat down. And all of a sudden, we hear this music enveloping us, like this droning music. It turned out that the back of the chairs were strung with these kind of guitar strings, and they're tuned to certain frequencies. Really
the back
rich.
Of the chair, like it was built into it.
Yeah, it was like a guitar chair, and he's strumming it. He's strumming it, and it's amazing because it vibrates the chair, and it's like tuned to these certain frequencies, right? These healing frequencies. Not only that, he starts chanting. He starts singing. He's like, oh, you know, he's like singing all these like kind of ancient sounding melodies, and he's strumming these chairs. And he took us on some sort of sound journey for at least 5 minutes. I mean, it wasn't quick. We sat there for quite a while, and it was pretty wild. Like the way I felt afterwards was the same way I feel after I'd go get a massage, when like all of the skin on my body is kind of like prickly and goosebumpy. Felt just like that. It was like a massage, but for my soul.
Wow, you know,
that's pretty cool.
So you guys both got a chance. By the way, Bleak, I'm going to say this quick. You got to get out here, bro. We got to get you out here. But enough said. You guys met Jay this weekend. Jerry, you met Jay, and D-Rex, you met Jay. Jay is a sound healer also. So we keep losing Bleak, but we're going to keep bringing you back in, brother. Every time you pop up, we're getting you back in.
We'll bring you in as many times as we see you.
Jay has, she has some different types of instruments. I don't know about how elaborate they are compared to what you were dealing with that guy, but she enlightened me to that. And the more that I've learned so much in the past year about what we know as humans about our brains and about our electromagnetic fields and about the difference between sound waves and light waves and how everything is like, I don't mean to sound like I'm some sort of like, you know, hardcore yogi or anything that where I'm devout or I'm extremely educated on any of the subjects. But when you start thinking about ancient knowledge and what they knew about life back then, like Bleak was talking about how we don't pay attention now. Well, in antiquity, before humans were using fire, we were so much more in tune with all of the Earth's vibes, you know, and I really believe that sound is just as significant as heat or food as far as health goes, and that's why there's so much dis-ease among humans and nature now, because there's so much sound that's happening in nature now or on Earth now that wasn't present before technology.
That is true. That is very true. Yeah, I mean, there's so much ambient noise all the time. Even halfway through this podcast, I had a helicopter over my house. There's sound constantly. So that's an interesting thought.
You know, and the thing about, you know, when you're talking about the in between that Bleak was mentioning, you know, or you talking about the uphill part, you know, there's a guy that I'm very interested in taking to the next level. Next week, I've got an appointment with the people that are in charge with the stem cell connections. And I'm hoping to be able to get some more knowledge about what we can do for Schaefer. But in the meantime, I want to show you guys, D-Rex, you were talking about the journey and about, when you get to the end, you're going to look back on the journey, and that's the part that was the most enjoyable part, And I know that we're all rooting for Schaefer, and he brings so much joy. Anyone that I've ever shown the videos of him, and I show them regularly, everybody's just so, man, it's like people just levitate onto their tippy toes with joy and just rooting for this person. This guy has so much fire, and he's one of millions, but he's special in his own way. And I just want to show you guys, you want to talk about enjoying the journey. Watch this guy enjoying his journey. I mean, he's working his tail off, to be able to, do simple things that we take for granted. So just feel me on this. I mean, it's a short video, but man, it seems like it lasts forever. So yeah, so Bleak said thanks for letting him in. He's having technical difficulties, so we appreciate that. But this guy has got so much more progress to make, and you can tell that he's relentless. Because just look at how far he's come just since we first got in touch with him, a few months ago. But he's enjoying the journey, And if we can just draw more on, the youthful exuberance that kids bring to our lives every day, and that's why I always tell people that I'm only 21, because it's, if you can look at life with that youthful exuberance and just feel like you have it out in front of you, it's so much more, so much more of an inspired living, rather than, in the little intro that I wrote, the post for today's podcast, I mentioned wiggling and worrying and about, being able to enjoy the ride instead of spending every morning getting up and worrying about all the obstacles you're going to have to overcome that day, and constantly trying to avoid risks. We're always trying to know better than that, and just trying to have experience so that we're never going to have the perfect day. It doesn't matter how much you avoid the risk or how well you plan. There's always going to be a hitch. So why spend so much time worrying about that? Why not spend more time just imagining how great the day can be? You know what I mean?
This is Schaefer's mom. She said he did that walk so many times just to make it all the way across that he couldn't stand after. That's how hard he's trying.
Man,
amazing.
Yeah, and so for those of you guys that don't know, what we're doing here with the Get Busy Living Project 55 is we're going on one epic adventure a month. The goal is to beat the streak that I set before I got injured at 54. So we got 55 months to go. We've already done 6. And the idea is to raise awareness, to try to help people the way that I've been helped, to try to repay the debt that I owe for the life that was given to me and the second lease on life, and to help you guys get busy living with us. We all have varying degrees of life that we've lived, and all have varying degrees of what we want to get out of life. But what we're trying to do here is inspire you to live a very purposeful, deliberate, intentional life. Don't just let life happen to you. Get up each morning and don't worry about what's coming at you and try to avoid the risk at all time. Think about what you want to get out of life and go get it. Get it. GIT. Go get it. And what we hope to do with this podcast is to try to raise awareness for folks like Schaefer that are getting busy living without our encouragement, because that's the only thing that they know. We're trying to instill this fire inside of you to go after life the way the guys like Schaefer are going after it. Think about JFT and D-Rex. You guys have shared your stories here about where you're from and where you're going, and the fire is still inside of you. I love to see you, D-Rex, out there on the side of the hill. And I'm thinking about telling me about how, when I crossed your path on my way out of the U.S. heading to New Zealand back in 2015, I guess, that you were hadn't really gotten busy living much yet.
I had not traveled anywhere, honestly. I mean, I've been to Hawaii, Mexico, Canada, but I really hadn't been too far off this piece of land. And at first it bothered me that you were on my case about traveling. You should travel. You need to travel. And I was like, why? But you got under my skin about it. And I started to think maybe something is wrong with my attitude about it, you know? And then once I started traveling, then that's really all I wanted to do, because it's about meeting new people, having new experiences. It makes my life much, much richer.
You know, it is.
Once you start, you gain a whole new perspective.
You know, I can't wait to go back to Erie during the summertime so I can go kick it at Otis's crib with all my old school homies. You know, I've been told so many times to come back every summer. He's got this big shindig goes on out there, and you don't have to. You can stay home and have that camaraderie. You know, but when you travel, there is something different about it. Like going up into the mountain, like we could have stayed here, like. For the house that I'm surrounded by, we could have stayed here, but we all got away from our surroundings and got together up on the mountain. And there's something about that vibe of everybody being away, but being together away, you know. And that's really what I'm hopeful with this podcast is that, you know, we can inspire people to keep on tuning in. We can inspire people to, you know, to go and support the HSWA. And help us get people like Schaefer, you know, Bizzy Living. Help those of you that are in the audience. What we hope to do in the future is to distribute some of the portions of our proceeds to get you guys on these vacations with us. And so the goal down the road is so that we can eventually get to a point where we're all, you know, sharing these stories together instead of it just being us checking in with you once a week and telling you about the stuff we're doing. We want to all be able to do it together. So what is Bleak saying here?
Traveling is when you meet yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, I want to add something to something I was saying earlier, is that how we all have this set point. And, you know, some people's are lower than others, right? And if there's somebody out there who just feels like not that happy all the time, there are actual proven ways that you can raise your set point. And I'd just like to read through them really quick in case it helps anyone. Well, the first thing is to be kind. Be kind to others. And if you practice being kind on a daily basis, you'll be surprised at how much happier you become over a short period of time. You know, and I'm not making these up. I researched this. I'm not some happiness pro.
I'm sold on that. I'm sold on the be kind first and foremost.
Yeah. Kindness, just like generosity with your energy, you know, makes a huge difference in your own life. And another thing is practicing gratitude. Practicing gratitude. I mean, I didn't make this stuff up. Everybody says it. Learning to, on a daily basis, look around you and be thankful for the things that you have and the people you're surrounded with, and making a note of it, making a conscious note of it, raises your set point, makes you naturally happier. And another thing is meditation, which is a tricky subject because some people see it as like anti-religious. It's not. It's as simple as sitting in silence for a little while every day and just being alone with yourself. It really is that simple. And it makes a big difference. It clears out the thoughts that are bugging you. And also, like we were talking about earlier, paying attention, you know, it helps you pay attention because it gets you away from the screens. It gets you away from those dopamine highs. Every time you open your phone, it gives you a little jolt of dopamine. And that's why we keep going back to the phone. And that's why meditation is so helpful. It gets us to calm down for a second. It's like clearing the sugar out of your bloodstream, you know? There's a couple more here. Building quality relationships, which is basically what we always talk about here. Quality friendships, surrounding yourself with a good community. Obviously, that came up in our podcast about the blue zones, about the octogenarians, the people who live over 100 happily and healthfully. It was one of the most important factors.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last one is just choosing happiness. And we talk a lot about choice here. Deliberately choosing. And you always have a lot to say about that.
I could go on for days about just about every one of those, especially the choosing. I firmly believe believe, and that's it. You know, it's hard to differentiate the belief from the decision. They kind of go hand in hand. It's like having, you know, it's like you have to have both sides of a coin. So, but once you believe, once you have a belief, if it's a steadfast belief, then you decide to go with that belief. Whatever it is that you want, first you got to believe that, first of all, it's possible, that you deserve it, that you can get it. The number one thing is that you have to believe. And so, but once you have that belief in you, choose to go after it. And I love that raising the set point with all of those different points that they gave. I don't know, bullet points. What was there? 6 or 7 of them.
There was 5.
choosing, I love, and smiling, I love. Why do I love smiling so much? Because it's easy and it's instant. It's easy and it's instant. JFT, can we get a big old grin out of you? That's my dog. Look, that's something that I've always embraced about Jerry, is that since the day we met, since the first time I saw him in that pool deck at the Palms, you could see that shit-eating grin from a mile away. You know, and the thing is, guys, seriously, like, I know I've been there. I've been in the darkest places, and I've felt like there was no point in continuing on. I didn't have a purpose, and I didn't really have firm belief, you know. But man, I stumbled upon somebody reminding me to smile, and I remembered that instantly. You can smile, and it can completely change your state of mind.
Fake it till you make it, baby. All you got to do is smile, or you can just start laughing randomly. And all of a sudden, you're laughing your ass off.
You know, there was a game like that in Girl Scouts. And I got to say, I almost 100% didn't enjoy Girl Scouts. But the one thing I did enjoy is that we had this game where we lay on the floor and the next person puts their head on your belly. And then another person puts their head on that person's belly. And the first person goes, ha. The second person goes, ha, ha. Then it goes, ha, ha, ha. And pretty soon, everybody's laughing and their heads are going like this.
So let's do it. You start. Start.
It's the best. It's the best.
One
game.
ha, and then
no.
Come on.
Ha, ha,
Ha
ha, ha,
ha, ha, ha, ha.
See, you can't even get the 4 because you have to laugh. You know, it's
look, a brilliant game.
Absolutely, I love
it's
it.
So simple.
Biz stopped in to say hello. Thanks for stopping by, Biz. Robert Burns in the house. No, literally, what's more important than happiness? You know, yes, like having a long-term purpose helps you become more happy. But being happy, enjoy it. Stop, smell it, notice it. Because if you wake up every day and you're too busy on the shitter worrying about all the problems you're going to have that day, you're going to have those problems. You know, so just let life happen to you. Let it roll off. But as long as you're looking down the road at a purpose and you have something you're going towards, you should be able to let things happen to you and let them go. You know, enjoy things that happen to you. Sometimes they're going to suck. Sometimes they're going to be great. You know, but every single day is another reason to be grateful. You know,
water off a duck's back. There's a movie about this crazy little girl. They turned into an assassin, and she says one thing in the movie that has always stuck with me. I never did mind the little things, which was a thing they were teaching her to show her that stuff is going to come your way that you're not going to like, but it's all about how you handle it.
It really is. It's all about how you respond.
Attitude is everything.
Steamroller of fun.
So, guys, next month it's going to be a surprise. I'm not sure. You can go to hello@getbusyliving.com and let us know where you think we should go. I'm kind of leaning towards Texas. I'm also kind of thinking about Salt Lake. I mean, kind of had my hopes up. But for sure, in April, we're going to be back in Florida. We're going to be going down Blackwater. We got the 420 canoe trip coming at us. That's a tradition that I started becoming a fan of 20 years ago. And I fell in love with it. And I started becoming the guy that started making sure that none of my friends missed it every year. And then after a while, I mean, it got to a point where we had hundreds of people on the river about 10 years ago. I don't know how many people are going to be this year. I know I got some work to do as far as getting the word out and promoting it. But please consider coming to Destin for April.
That is a crazy, cool, fun trip.
It is so much fun. So if you don't know what the 420 canoe trip is, is we all gather at a place that rents us canoes, and the Blackwater canoe, the Blackwater River up in the Panhandle of Florida is some of the most clearest water you're ever going to see. And the cool thing that makes this particular river so cool, aside from the water, is there's white sand beaches on almost every turn. So when you get a whole bunch of people out there in canoes with coolers and guitars and sun and beaches, and you're just floating down the river, some of the most serene moments you'll ever have in your life. And if you just sit and listen, sometimes you'll be so far behind the person in front of you and so far ahead of the person behind you that's really, really quiet. And you can just listen to the really still water. And then you hear somebody laugh, like a laugh echoes up the riverbed. You know what I'm talking about, JFT?
Dude, do we have time for a quick story about?
Please do.
Oh my God. So I take Carolina and we're doing the canoe trip, and we stop on the beach and everybody's got food, and a buddy of mine brought these badass ribs, right? And so we all eat the ribs, and we're down a little river a little ways, and y'all know I call Carolina Tigrita because she eats like a damn tiger. She's constantly eating. So at some point she wants some more of them damn ribs, and Greg says they're in the cooler, and she goes to open the cooler, and one of the girls' clothes fell onto the sand, and it was a little bit of water there, and she got upset. She's like, "Oh my God, you got my clothes wet!" And she's upset. She's a little tipsy, and Carolina just looks at her and smiles and goes, "Want a rib?" That was the funniest damn thing. That was so many years ago. We still laugh our ass off about that.
Oh my God, check her out. Before you even started telling that story, she had already commented, and eating ribs on the river is my favorite part.
We laughed about that shit the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Hey,
no,
Swede, I was wondering if you, because we're getting toward the end of this here, I just want to know if you want to let people know, because we've been talking so much about your Veganuary results, like where you're at with that.
Yeah, actually, so it's been 4 weeks now. So I'm going to be getting the blood test done soon. That's something that I kind of have to wait on, but they're aware that I'm waiting on that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the blood work looks like from way back in October and then all the way, because I've got October results, I've got November results, I've got December results, and I've got January results, and I've got February results. I want to see over time how things changed, and you guys have been pretty well aware of what my dieting has been like. There's been times when I've been pretty, like recently I've been pretty devout with it, but there are other times earlier in the year where I wasn't. So we'll be able to look at those results, and hopefully we'll be able to see some good result, some noticeable trends, if you will. You know what I mean? And look, guys, I'm doing this just to show what the impact can be. I'm doing it to keep myself in line, but I know that the long-term impact is that I'm just making myself healthier and I'm extending my life, and that's the goal. I'm trying to make the most of this second lease on life you guys gave me.
Yeah, and I think that we're actually probably going to see a big change, because I've seen changes in you physically, and then I see that you've been really sticking with it more and more as you go along.
Yeah,
and making good choices.
I'm reminded that it's well, first of all, talking about victories, small victories every day.
It's a process.
Yeah, small victories. Every time I make a good decision, I feel good about it. Like this morning, I was taking Pop and Joe to Papa Joe and Joe Beth to the airport, and we stopped to get some food, and I ordered a vegan salad. And I mean, I could have just as easily let them put the feta cheese on there, but I didn't. And you know what? I felt good about it. And I had coffee later on today with plant milk. Like little things like that I know it's hard for people to wrap their head around it, because it doesn't hurt. Like we think if we drink it and it doesn't hurt, that it's good for us, but it accumulates over time. So I just know that little things like this over time are going to make a difference in my life. And I do feel a lot better. I sleep great. And yeah, I'm excited about it. It's been a small victory that's got me, headed in the right direction. Makes me feel good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see these results. Hey, he says you were vegan when he met you. So you've been on and off vegan for a long time?
Well, my first stint was in 2013, right around the time when I met Bleak. I was devout from the time I first went vegan on January 31st all the way until I was in Thailand in November. So those 10 months that I was vegan before I had a single bite or sliver or sip of anything that was non-vegan. And then after that, I came back to the U.S. and I was pretty strict with it. But my thing has always been, if I want to have a chicken wing, I will. But then once I went through getting injured and coming and living in facilities and having depression and pleasure eating and all the kind of emotional roller coasters that a lot of us are dealing with. And so I've gone in and out of, clean eating. And I've definitely noticed it. I grew a belly that was ridiculous. It's still here. It's still my belly right now is bigger than it ever was before I got injured.
But it's not as big as it was.
What kind of baby are you having?
It's an elephant.
Oh, I thought it was an alien. Didn't you say alien baby?
Elephant, you want to see the trunk. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Hey, listen. Look, guys, this entire project is going to be worth it in the long haul. Thanks for sticking around with us while we're getting good at it in these early stages. I want to say thank you very much to EJFT for coming out. Thanks to Bleak for stopping in and sharing a little bit of his story. D-Rex, thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough for staying so young looking. And for sticking out with me. I really do feel like we are an unstoppable force because you have such a great attitude. And I never questioned it, but you still never cease to amaze me. So thank you for being so diligent. Thank you for always being here. Thank you for being on time, being so good at this. And always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next week.